now with concepts like MCP servers that sit on top of your product data and tell the AI tools how to interact with it, now we're actually defining interfaces that allow those agents to move and work better, rather than saying it's an either or, rather than saying we define our data and ship it to the agent and then we forget about it. Now we're defining tools that the AI agents can use in a more repeatable manner, and it's interacting with the live data. It can take access of it much faster.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Matthew, and the TORQ team as partners too inside of the B2B Commerce Association. I think it was interesting as kind of thinking through and doing prep for this call. You kind of started with talking about your, like, how you operate as a company, and you mentioned that you are an EOS company, and I'd actually love to start with that. We haven't talked a lot about operations, and that's a fascinating area for me. So I was pretty excited to dive into that to start this off. Something non B2B commerce related for the moment, and your product data business that we'll definitely get into. But start by explaining what EOS is, and then if you can take us back to the beginning, why did you need it or want it, looking back?
Absolutely. So we were a growing business, with a scattered offering in the digital services space, and we were doing that in a changing market with lots of opportunity in front of us, looking to grow, and really finding that we were missing some of the structural pieces that made growing easy. These challenges, I think, are common among businesses. You start, you've got good people doing good work, it creates growth, and then you need to learn how to, as a group, you need to learn how to, create the processes that codify or make repeatable, whatever that magic is that brought the firm together and got it to the point that it is successful. For us, we ended up hiring a coach, looking for somebody that would, take the leadership of the team through a process of some kind of framework to run our business. The gentleman that we worked with recommended the Traction book and the Entrepreneurial Operating System approach, or EOS. And we jumped full 2 feet in on the process, bought into it. We're very strict with our implementation of it. And there's a line in the book that, we scored ourselves at the start, and I won't give you our exact score, but I can tell you it was in the category of keep reading, this book will change your life. And I can tell you that absolutely true for us. We run a business that I would like to think we were running a quality business before, but with more internal chaos and without an understanding of how to expand. And how to create that same, those core values among staff as we grew. And now we're running something that we are seeing buy-in, top to bottom in the organization. We've built a team that, shares these values because we're communicating them. And so for us, it was really a necessity. We grew to a point that, we had to figure out how to do this. We recognized that we were, I don't want to say tired of learning things the hard way, but it seems the way I learn best is learning everything the hard way. But to appreciate that there's processes and systems out there that work well. Hiring a coach, critical. Have somebody bring some expertise and accountability externally to what we did, and then using that as the template for how we maintain quality, expand our offering, expand our staff, and really create an organization that it's fun to work at.
How has EOS changed decision making, execution? How long have you been doing that for?
We're going on 2 years now, so it's been
Okay.
we're well past our first year. I couldn't give you, I have a scorecard that would tell me the exact number of weeks if I had it open in front of me. But we do track we run the weekly scorecard.
How's it changed decision making and execution for you guys?
One of the things that was really good for us right across the team, and I would say within the leadership team, but also within the broader team, is decision making is now clear where the ownership lies for specific decisions or responsibilities for things, and it's really allowed us to untangle the ad hoc processes that had developed. And I would say, especially among the leadership team, the person to start something ended up being the owner of it forever, whether that was the right place for it to live or not. And specifically for our company's founder, Jeremy was carrying a lot of burden of decision making and responsibility for things that really didn't need to be on his plate. And so by really focusing on what is the org chart, what are the responsibilities, who's in charge of doing what, and I mean these all sound like very obvious things. Make sure you have accountability, make sure you have good understand who owns what things, but really going through the exercise, I would say, exposes a lot of places where you're making assumptions as a group.
Interesting. I'm curious how you think the process and kind of model in EOS has showed up for your customers. Like, how do you think they've seen the impact of that?
One of I'd say the biggest one, we don't avoid issues in a way that creates integrity that I think we believe we were bringing to the table all along, and I think we were, but the very explicit, confronting issues up front head on with projects, with delivery, with quality, with any other thing that could come up, and doing it in a weekly and very direct way that's solution focused. We end up with accountability that is directly visible to the clients, and we bring that accountability to the table in our client meetings, in our project meetings, and it really allows us to express, I would say, the core values and approach that we always internally thought we were delivering, by making it explicit and by looking at it week over week. It becomes something that you're making sure that you're living over time, and I think clients do see that.
Oh, I love that, actually. I mean, it's hard, like, having started companies, you with a small group of people, you can kind of, like, the vision and the integrity, as you said, can be a part of that small group. As you expand, like, how do you keep that same kind of core values not just said but actually internalized by the whole team? And it sounds like that's been a strong effect. I'm curious on this because I think it actually relates to something we talk about all the time on the change management side. You have lots of people listening to this that are trying to roll out change to their organization, digital change in many, or to their customers. You just walked through 2 years of change. Like, what was kind of the most surprising thing that's happened over the last 2 years as you rolled out that change to your staff?
I will say, this is one of those things that, again, I'm going to say it. It's very obvious, and I think it feels very obvious. If you told this to me before we started this whole process, I said, well, of course. And it's that I think maybe it's a Marine saying or a SEAL saying, like, the slow is smooth and smooth is fast approach to how you roll and implement projects, change within your organization. And there were so many times that we would come together as a group, leadership, teams working on projects, and we would have a meeting, we would discuss all kinds of issues, and we would make a plan and decide that it was done there. So there's really, execution's not part of that decision making in a real way. You're saying, here's the problem, here's how you fix it. We have this issue on a project, we need to do this, and then without a real plan that is really time bound, you haven't set SMART goals around it, or whatever other framework you're using to try and think about how we're going to deliver this work. Whenever you look at how you're trying to deliver this work and really say, what are the things we can actually accomplish in the time period that we're looking at? How do we make these commitments and set the EOS process uses the concept of rocks that come from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, which I know there'd probably be a ton of people here like me that also love that material. And really picking out what are the things we are committing to that are more important than everything else we're going to do this quarter, as a part of running our business, and say, we're going to get this done. And even early on in our implementation, we tried to bite off too much with the rocks. And then you start negotiating with them, like, oh, how do we make something happen? And over, many quarters now, or I guess, starting to approach double-digit quarters of setting these rocks and saying, here's what we're going to accomplish that's change for the organization. We've really getting better at setting things that are right sized to the quarter. Yes, we can get these done, and putting intention, rolling them out across the team so everybody knows what we're working on in the quarter and what helps meet that. And those small changes have been material. And sometimes the change that we plan for in a quarter, the activities we do don't maybe meet the goal we thought, but it still advances the overall thinking about how we do it. So some of the things we set as rocks, maybe around project management improvements, we didn't see, out of the first iteration, we didn't see the success, I guess, in implementation we hoped for. And it gave us a chance to, to iterate that again and start to realize those, down channel outcomes of, okay, now we do project management 25% better in a way that our clients are seeing is very visible. So change is hard, and good change happens slowly, but not, it can't be glacier. We know this is a fast moving business. And so I think real quarterly goals around change that respect what people can actually accomplish is the hardest thing, because everybody wants to move faster than that. And we need to make sure that by trying to move faster, we're not actually, throwing a wrench in the entire cog of creating that change leadership.
For all those listening, the book is called Traction, that Matthew referenced, and great, amazing book on just a great kind of process to run your business. Highly recommend. You'll get used to the word rocks a lot if you read that book. Well, just a side note on that, we've actually modeled a lot of the B2B Commerce Association, not using the model of EOS, but using the model of the company that created EOS. So we have a number of best practices that our goal has been to roll out to people in a very systematic way through coaches and people like that, as a distribution channel, very much like Traction. So often when someone asks to explain the actual business part of what we do, I reference Traction as, if you know Traction, we're trying to do the same thing for this e-commerce world. Kind of cool. One thing I respect about TORQ is that you all know who you are and who you're not. You made a lot of very intentional decisions about the technology you're working with, the type of kind of solutions you're be a part of that. Talk about kind of how you've, articulate the niche that you guys exist in.
Yeah, and I'll try not to tie everything back to Traction so that people don't get
do it. That's great.
Listening to that. But as part of defining,
that's a good change management role, actually, right? Is
that's
always referencing back to the model that you have. I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely. And there's some things that I think when you start going through these processes and you're taking the time to write down and debate and think about what makes your company successful, what are the key values that you have. One of the things that we were doing as part of that is defining our niche and our value proposition. And in that, they want you to say what's your passion and what's your niche, and what does that combo make unique about your business? Why do you exist, and how are you successful given that? And there's obviously lots of answers to that. Sometimes it's just regionality. Sometimes it's sometimes it's innovation. For us, we felt that our passion as an organization, one thing we came to, and it sounds simple, but we really aligned on it, was that we had a real drive to make our clients' lives better. All of us felt great when when, through our core values, we thought at the end of the day, our clients are more successful. They're taking home, they're making more sales, or they're retaining more of their sales, or their jobs are just easier and more codified. They're better insulated from business continuity challenges, whether they're staffing or IT infrastructure. And then second to that, we had we decided that the niche we wanted to exist in within our market was that we wanted to be the top implementation partners for the commerce and data platforms we worked with. We felt that we were working at the time predominantly in two platforms, PIM Core, which is a master data management or golden record management system, and really has evolved into being a customer experience platform, a data experience platform in that space. And then we also work with an e-commerce platform, Shopware, which is built on the same tech stack, a lot of transferable skills, and is excellent when we start talking about complex business, like most of our our B2B manufacturers, distributors have those types of challenges. So we worked with both those platforms. We really leaned in on being the best implementation partner on those platforms, and we've seen that really change the way our staff approach projects, where the way we approach projects with clients, what projects we actually take and work on with people, and then how and then the outcomes on those projects, because we know these platforms so well. And I think that was I would frame that in contrast to we know firms out there that are looking to be, for example, product information management system experts on different product experience platforms like PIMcore, but also working across other platforms and using that knowledge. And I think that's a valid approach. But for us, we felt the complexity and the quality of knowing how the system was to work inside out and not distributing teams across different platforms. The right thing to do was take the customers for which the platform was a right fit and bringing on that journey as fast, effective, and following best practices that are platform specific as possible.
Why manufacturing and distribution versus retail brands, retailers?
I wouldn't say it's not an exhaustive exclusionary thing. It just happens that a lot of our clients that come to us with the types of challenges that are best solved by these platforms have been naturally in the manufacturing, distribution, B2B space. That's not a complete story, especially when you start talking about a broader, master data management or golden record implementation within the organization. We're seeing more B2C companies in that space that are really looking for support on how they manage data across their organization that is complex. And I think some of it's a nature of the clients we've had, the referrals we've got, maybe how our branding resonates. The challenges are similar. I think you're at different scales when you're in B2B versus B2C. But our customers right now are predominantly in the B2B space. And so I talk with that language more frequently than our B2C customers. And then I would say on the e-commerce front, there's just the complexity of B2B e-commerce is greater than B2C e-commerce. I think we all know this. And there's things that make the B2B customers successful. There's a secret sauce to how they do sales, how they organize their product lines, how they're pricing, and working with their customers that just aren't often or always generic. So it's not easy to say, install the B2B plugin into some application, and all of a sudden, you're set up with Platform X's B2B e-commerce solution. And so working with clients, with our clients, our customers, to help them understand, one, how they can adapt the way they're working to the platform, and two, how the platform can adapt what it does to the way they work.
You mentioned the word MDM versus PIM. I think there's always kind of questions about the differentiation between the two. When do you need one versus the other, or do you need both or neither? There's a company recently that told me that with AI, they don't need either. They're just going to skip. They're going to skip that whole process and just jump right to AI. They were talking about commerce too. They were talking about commerce too, just skipping the whole
Yeah.
thing, which I think would be amazing. However, as we walk
I
through, as we
yeah,
walk through that scenario, I think I was able to convince them that maybe that wasn't the best decision. Yeah, talk to me about MDM and PIM and one versus the other.
I'll start with I'm very excited about what AI is doing for us, and I think like most people, I'm very fatigued with over promises from AI tooling that I don't think any of us have a great vision to where this tool is going to be transformative, where it's going to be a flash in the pan, and where we just don't even know how it's going to impact the way we work, buy, think, shop, distribute moving forward. I mean, we're all trying to read the tea leaves together on that, and I think there's lots of good insight out there. I'm not trying to imply this is an unknown, but definitely something that any agency, any company that's working in this space needs to be paying a lot of attention to. I'll go back to EOS and rock setting. We've been focusing on this part of the industry, obviously, over the past year, especially as it's really started to transform how we can work with product data and other data available to do things with the commodity tools instead of, I would say even a year plus ago, where we had customers doing things with AI that were highly specialized, big expensive projects. And the commodity tools, the general chatbots, are moving fast enough that you're starting to see that complexity come down in terms of what does it take to start an AI project that provides value to you in selling your products. That does drive me into the question you're asking me, which is MDM versus PIM. What I would articulate is when you talk just PIM, we're generally talking about products that that are there to solve that product information management thing specifically. And when we talk just PIM, we're often talking about the very real challenge that distributors, that B2C has, as well as B2B, of getting our products into different marketplaces with data transformed the way it needs to be transformed to meet the rules of each of those marketplaces and giving me one place to manage it where I can export it everywhere. The platform we work with, PIMcore, specifically took that as that's really the narrow view to a broader, flexible master data concept, which is really just, here are the types of data that run our business. And like product data, we want to think about, location data. We want to think about customer data. We want to think about fleet data. If you're trucking fleet, how does your fleet interact with your loading bays, with the types of things you're shipping, with the sizing and packaging of that, complex shipping configurations where you might have, your inners, your outers, your tie highs that all need to be measured in different contexts to how you ship your goods. And when you take a master data or a golden record view where you're creating a source of truth for this data within your organization and you're managing it in one place and building your workflows around that, a flexible platform like PIMcore really solves a lot of those challenges. So that's, where we saw the value of it is a lot of organizations don't need to plug in a whole bunch of different systems with different parts of that golden record and really know where to properly integrate them together when you're using those systems, and instead give you a tool that lets you, build those data objects, store them in a way, integrate them in a way that's best practice, gives you the tools to bring data in and out, and then think about the platform more holistically in your business too. Like, is this the source of truth? Is it an outward-facing source of truth with integrations to the various systems that make up how you run your business? And I think we can pretty confidently say that, as an example, in B2B solutions, we see a lot of complex ERP implementations. A lot of times people's, between their ERP and whatever type of e-com they've had for their business, and then 300 spreadsheets, their golden record is a complicated thing to define initially. When you put this MDM system in place, and again, I think slowly roll that out so it expands throughout the organization in a way that is slow, smooth, and therefore fast, you end up with a tool that starts to resolve some of those issues. You know where to go to find the source of truth about dimensions. You know where to go to find the source of truth about your locations, your fleet, your customers, whatever other information is needed by the different systems that run your business.
Do you still see the need for PIM in those situations, or is that there's just kind of decision factors along the way?
I see the need for PIM. There's two things we're seeing. We're seeing the PIMs are dead, long live PIM kind of mentality to what's feeding these models. Something has to be a source of truth somewhere. Uh, Now, I do think, like, are we going to find we get to a place where there's enough inputs into these AI tools that they can actually start to define something of a source of truth beyond, the human error that always creeps into your systems anyway? Possibly. But when you look at the complexity of a lot of B2B and especially in manufacturing, especially if there's things like safety considerations to the ordering where there's liability, we don't have our systems tuned to the place for most organizations yet where they're trusting the AI tools fully to do those things. And then I just think when we're looking at it now, when we're looking at for example, you have this system of golden records. And now with concepts like MCP servers that sit on top of your product data and tell the AI tools how to interact with it, now we're actually defining interfaces that allow those agents to move and work better rather than saying it's an either or, rather than saying we define our data and we, and ship it to the agent and then we forget about it. Now we're defining tools that the AI agents can use in a more repeatable manner, and it's interacting with the live data. So as you get updates from vendors, that kind of stuff becomes quicker. It can take access of it, take advantage of it much faster. And I think it is very necessary to have a place where you, as the distributor, the manufacturer, say, here is the source of truth for how you interact with our product. Here's how we're going to store that data. Do I think PIMs look the same in 5 years? Probably not. There's probably a lot of context that AI is going to drive into this. But do I think they're crucial? I would bet on the PIM and custom e-commerce over not the PIM. I think our agent's going to be, is your storefront your first stopping point, or is the product data from your PIM what ChatGPT or Anthropic are integrating with to help make sales? I think that's an open question.
Yeah. I also think that intersection of customer, product, vendor data, supplier data, fleet, shipping, like that is kind of the core of delivering any type of front end experience, right? Like MDM, master data management, for those listening that don't know that term, becomes really interesting. So that makes sense on PIM core, MDM. Does PIM core consider some both an MDM and PIM, or
Absolutely.
do they differentiate? So they do both.
In fact, in that platform, when you specifically talk about that platform, and hopefully they won't. I won't get an email from anybody, but really the PIM is the master data for products, and it's agnostic, really, in terms of what it is doing. Master data or golden records. When you think about how you interrelate things, they very much took this idea of digital experience management, full stop. Like, this is a generic problem. How do we manage this data? And there's really nothing special about a product that if you have the tools to flexibly model your data that really aren't able to meet all of your MDM needs within the platform. So you have data types, you have complex relationships, you have metadata that you need to manage, and then you need a tool that lets you effectively build out the thing that represents your product data and your solution. And I think when you work with when you work in your project, you look at what are the best practices in our industry for how we manage this type of data, and then how can the platform also meet the needs of what makes us unique in our industry? Why are we successful? And how do we start to do things like, I know we used to say monetize, but really just actualize or make use of the data that hits our bottom line in some way.
Did you guys start in the PIM world, or did you guys start in the commerce world?
We started in really the custom development and integrations
Okay.
world. And from a PIM perspective, one of our clients brought the PIM to us.
Okay.
They had done an implementation on the platform and said, "We need support with this. Can you help?" And I think that 8, 9 years ago now, that started a journey to really becoming experts on this PIM core platform. And then when we started looking at e-commerce, it was a similar experience in that we were looking for a platform that would fit well with our experience, what we knew, had an ecosystem that was similar, that we knew had depth. There's a lot of implementation of it, where we could see there was quality there, and it's built on the same tech stack. So when we work with Shopware, it's a chance for our all of our staff to really participate on these projects with a high level of depth in the underlying platforms that they're built on too.
And there's nothing quite like German engineering.
No, there isn't. Absolutely. Yes, both platforms. Although I will say, and I think I have to, PIMCore itself was born out of Austria. So let's make sure we keep the border intact.
Dockish. There's nothing quite like Dockish region engineering.
There we go.
How
That's
about
right.
that? Does that work? Who should be reaching out to you? Right? What types
Yeah,
of companies should be reaching out to you is what I'm trying to get to. And so I'll
I
ask a
yeah
question
totally
on that, but
understand. I think
that's what I'm getting at.
I mean, I would say I know we're all supposed to, like, it's marketing 101. You define your ICP and then make sure that's what you target. I'm not there yet. I love learning about people's businesses. Love it. Like, it's my favorite thing is you get to work with these companies that are in disparate businesses. You get to go in, you get to learn their language, their culture, um, how things happen. I have a deep love in my heart for the manufacturers, just because you typically, if you can get on site, you get to see how that happens.
You get to see
Um,
amazing things.
but also the distributors, like, it's neat to see the systems that have been built up over time to make all of this machinery move in a way that they're more effective than their competitors, because that's why they still exist. And so I would say people in these spaces with, they've got a complex legacy business and they're trying to figure out how to digitize. And, we're there to help. So we have more people doing some form of distribution than manufacturers in
Okay.
our portfolio, but it's not a clean number.
Yeah.
It's 70/30, 60/40. I don't know. It's somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
I think that's I think that's fair. I think on the manufacturing side, you get more of syndication. Like, how do I get my data out to my channel partners? In distribution, you kind of get more full stack of, not as a rule, but as a general thing of commerce plus data, bringing lots of data from channel partners in, turning it into commerce experiences because they're selling direct to customers. So I
Yeah,
think that kind of makes
absolutely.
sense.
And a lot of time in manufacturing, we're seeing like smaller data volume with more complexity around configuration and selling configurations. And then in the distribution world, we've got clients with nine-figure MDM solutions. Like, there's hundreds of millions of data objects and lots of referential data, because if you're in the parts world or the electronics world as an
Yeah.
example, you're just dealing with a large number of potential SKUs, lots of fitment considerations, and and it's complex, and they're sourcing from hundreds or thousands of suppliers that are making updates to those catalogs all the time. So the challenge is really can be quite different between the two, but it's interesting because often when you're dealing with the distributors, you're dealing with the source, one of the sources of the materials that are, the manufacturers. You're dealing with one of the sources that are going to these distributors, and when we look at what everybody's trying to do, they're also concerned about what the B2C looks like often too, because the B2B sellers want to be the best in their market provider of data to the B2C sellers that they're selling to, so that they go to them first. They know if they get product information from somebody easier, lower friction, then that's who they're going to go look at their catalog first to add products to what they sell. Or it's going to make it easier to see how fast things can move, what shipping looks like, what availability looks like. If you can have a system that's unified, shares that product data quickly, and then when we start talking, like I said, the more broader master data or MDM solution, you can really look at how do we serve the needs of our customers and how they sell to their end clients. And that's how do we create the standard within our industry for how these products are sold is something manufacturers and distributors can really start to look at. In the manufacturing world, it's about saying we've done a really great job at defining our products so they're easy for you to sell. And in the distribution world, we've done a really good job sometimes of bringing all of the different suppliers' data together in a way where we have like a unified category that's best practice that we can then share to our customers that are selling B2C.
Amazing. Matthew, appreciate your time and coming on, and we'll definitely pick up this conversation soon as well. Looking forward to hearing more.
All right. Thank you.
Manufacturers, distributors, leaders in the zone. If you're building B2B, this the podcast throne. The industry's heartbeat, we're setting the tone. Turn insights to actions, it's how empires are grown. We're talking change management, breaking resistance. Strategies so sharp, they redefine persistence. Customer adoption, it's more than retention. It's building a movement, commanding attention. It's the B2B e-commerce show, where the vision is clear and the strategies glow. From the top of the globe, we're the pros who know. Turn the volume up loud, it's time to grow. We bring news, big topics, insights to spark. From the boardroom's glow to the warehouse dark. Digital transformations, the path we're paving. Helping you lead through the change you're facing. This is more than a podcast, it's the industry's voice. Giving you the tools to make the right choice. No fluff, just facts, no hype, just action. The show where solutions are more than a fraction. It's the B2B e-commerce show, where the vision is clear and the strategies glow. From the top of the globe, we're the pros who know. Turn the volume up loud, it's time to grow.
This is your guide to the digital race. Practical advice, no time to waste. So tune in, gear up, and let's own the space. It's the B2B e-commerce show, the industry's base.